Anyway, it's wonderful to be here, and I'm so glad that you're taking a chance on what I'm going to try to do this morning. To be able to pray with icons, you have to know something about them. And if you don't know anything about them, it's difficult. So I'm going to try to introduce you to icons before we do a prayer. And then I'm going to try to let you pray to yourself with an icon. But to do that, I've got to give you a little bit of nitty-gritty background work, okay? And so today in technology, we click on an icon and we get all kinds of programs that give you the possibility of the world. However, if you talk to somebody in the Eastern churches, they will tell you that icons are images that emphasize the spiritual and also give you all kinds of possibilities. Proto-Presbyter Thomas Hopko, who was the dean of St. Vladimir's Orthodox Seminary, would say that icons are, quote, the art of sacred living. Icons proclaim God's reality in a visible way and are not just pieces of art that you look at, but they proclaim the presence of the living God. That is why very often you find it said that icons are the doors or windows of heaven. Frequently, I like doors better because you can walk through a door. And when you walk through a door, you're there. A window is great, but I can only see through it. And that's good too. So if you like windows, there are windows to heaven. If you like doors, there are doors to heaven. They can show you the effective relationship between yourself and the divinely related and revealed truths of God. But there are several ways that you can learn to pray with an icon. You can take a painting class, or you can take an icon retreat and learn to paint one yourself. But the idea is that you must pray it into being. Icons are not just painted. The second way would be that if you were out in the hall and maybe there's somewhere out there that they're selling icons, you could buy one, take it home with you and make yourself a beautiful corner, and then you could pray with icons. To discover this sacred art and its inner nature, you must gradually become aware of the mysterious intimacy and how icons are painted and what they reveal. You must first get to know your image, and that's the first thing we do is you draw it so many times that you know your image and you know everything about your image. Each line, each brushstroke is made with a prayer to lead you more deeply into the relationship with the person that you are painting so that you can reach the mystery of God that is within. The iconographer prays with each stroke, and while you can't see the strokes on here, you're going to follow through hopefully now and find out. If you look at the lines, each line helps to portray the image and the message. Our minds wander many times when we work, and you know your minds wander when you pray. Icons help us to focus our wandering minds in prayer while we are still doing our regular work at home, at the job we work at, wherever we are with our joys and struggles of daily life. Music, chant, and taizé tapes and lighted candles are frequently found in icon studios where the iconographer is painting because it assists them in centering in on their saint and keeping their mind on their prayer. In the midst of our crazy world, we just finished with our crazy government, and it's mixed up in our crazy world and our unemployment problems, maybe with family problems, with everyday struggles, with everyday relationships. It is possible, by learning to pray with icons, to move more and above our daily problems, or at least to embrace God in our daily problems and experience the light and the eternal budding of life in our living of every day. The iconographer works in union with God. Now, we used to say that if you're an iconographer, you're one step away from being in Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, because they were inspired to write. And they tell us in the Eastern Church that you too are inspired to write an icon. The word write was used earlier because write meant to paint also. The same word was used for writing and painting. So some people do say they write an icon. Through icon painting and prayer, each of us come to know God wholly rather than partially or casually. You kind of get to know who you're painting, and they become real friends. As Mary here and Mary is greeted by Christ after the resurrection. According to our Christian tradition, we learn to enter the journey of prayer in many, many ways. And you don't have to pray with icons. You could go into your room and pray in silence. You can attend a liturgy, which would be the Mass. Or you could say the Divine Office. You could do a meditation. You could learn centering prayer. But we say that when you paint an icon, you reach God through the stillness and quiet of contemplation. It's a still, quiet art. And if you look at this picture, Mary Magdalene, although she's moving, is very still. Christ is still also, placing you in a moment of contemplation where you can pray and talk to the Lord. You see the mystery of salvation with new eyes as you look into a deeper experience of the holy. And by the way, you don't have to be an artist to paint an icon. All you have to do is be willing to listen to the Lord. And I think I have a few people here from my class, and they have to listen to the Lord. They got smiles on their faces, shaking their head. Peter Pearson is a well-known iconographer who did live in Pittsburgh and comes in once in a while to the city. He wrote a book called A Brush with God, and he quoted, "Once an icon has become a part of our contemplative consciousness, we can relate to it much like we would to a trusted friend or a beloved companion, with the intimacy and not the mere words that we use to communicate." So the icon, after you've made it your own and prayed with it, becomes a friend. I can only tell you that praying with icons has a very great depth to it. And this would be one if you wanted to start. Many people in the Eastern Church start with this one because of its depth. I think it's time. I could tell you a lot more. But thank you for coming. And I hope that the Lord touched your heart in some way.